Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I am Allison.
Good morning on this bright, early Monday.
4th of July.
4th of July.
I gotta extend, Independence Day wishes to all my American friends.
All right.
They're celebrating the independence of the United States today.
Yes. And also a happy CARICOM Day to our peoples in Guyana.
Yes.
That is a public holiday for them as well. We'll talk more about that later on the show.
Perfect.
Yes.
How was your weekend?
It was very, very eventful. We'll talk more about it when we cover Eye on the News, but as folks know out there that it was Lobster Fest. It's the beginning of Lobster Fest season, July 1st, and Key Cocker kicked it off for us, so I had my little time there.
There we go, fun in the sun.
Yes, it rained.
It rained?
A lot.
Wow.
That tropical storm, which we'll also talk about more with the weather, kind of, evaded the events a little bit, but it was fun nonetheless. How was your weekend?
Well, pretty good. I can't complain. I spent a lot of time at home over the weekend, which was good for a change, right? Because I'm usually out and about.
Out and about, yeah.
But I was at home for the most part and quite peaceful and relaxing.
You get to do laundry?
Well, laundry is done during the week, thankfully.
Okay.
Most of it was done during the week. And I never had to worry about, hanging out clothes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't have that to worry about. But what I can tell you is that, on Saturday with the rains, off and on, you had people who were doing their laundry and got stuck because the moment they pin out their clothes, heavy shower comes, you gotta run out and pick them back in, right?
Yeah, that's what it was at Lobster Fest. Everybody come out for the festivities, and then as soon as rain hit, everybody try to find tent or shelter or something, and then as soon as it stopped, right back. It was a very strange weather, but
to say the least.
To say the least, yes. But we'll discuss more about that with Eye on the News. But of course, we have to get right into our motivation for this morning. And our motivator, or eye opener, is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Giving yourself permission to be silly will nourish your creativity and is a good exercise in letting go. Children appreciate all that is silly as a matter of course. Their grasp of humor is instinctual, and even the smallest absurdities provoke joyous gales of earnest laughter. As we age, this innate ability to see the value of silliness can diminish. Work takes precedence over play, and we have less incentive to exercise our imaginative minds by focusing on what is humorous. When we remember childhood, we may recall the pleasures of donning funny costumes, reciting nonsense poems, making up strange games, or playing pretend. This unabashed silliness nourished our vitality and creativity. We can take in this nourishment once again by giving ourselves permission to lighten up and be silly. It is precisely because so much of life is inescapably serious that silliness should be regarded as a priority. Through the magic of imagination, you can be or become anything: a photographer, a professional athlete, a dancer, a pilot. Whether you take hundreds of silly pictures, revel in the adulation of your fans as you make the winning catch, boogie down rock star style in front of your bedroom mirror, or turn your desk into a cockpit. The ensuing hilarity that will help you see that light-hearted fun and adulthood are not at all incompatible. Sani, tell me what you think.
That's a very interesting one. For the simple fact that when we're young, we engage in silly activities, things that make us feel giddy in a good way, right? You want to be able to laugh and have fun at the same time. When you get older, you take yourself a little bit more seriously, and you try to put humor and hilarity aside for the most part. But why I say it's interesting is because you have to have balance, right? I always think about this line from the Joker, why so serious? Right? Because in life you have to make space, you have to make room for whimsy. It can't all be about seriousness. Take a break, relax, enjoy, laugh. You know, and laughter is the best medicine. It is. Right? So even if when you were younger you did silly things, you can still find humor in other things without necessarily being silly in your adulthood. I think that you're absolutely right, and I also think that we give, as a society, if you come off as being too silly or too humorous, you're not being taken seriously in your workplace or in a serious matter. But and this is just for somebody like me, that I kind of gear towards humor when I'm nervous or when I have anxiety. It's kind of like a safe space because like you said, laughter, it helps to relieve some of that stress and that tension, and that's why you should try to find that balance within seriousness and being silly. But I don't think we have it. I don't. And even in a space of work, or even in a space of open your eyes, you know, you want to be able to gear at questions that will inform the public, and people might not take it seriously if there's too much humor in it, if there's too much joke in it, but also we can't talk too boring and monotone like this, because then nobody not pay attention to it. So how do you gear balance? Well, balance is often a very, very tricky thing, right? Because if we're looking at the idea of the eye-opener reflecting on humor and silliness, if you have something that is funny to you on the one hand and something else that is very serious and perhaps urgent, how do you find that middle ground where you could laugh at it perhaps and still being able to address it, if that were the case, right? Oftentimes we're extremes, go either in one direction all the way or the other, but we don't try to find that middle ground where we can juggle the two things evenly. Right? And it's a difficult thing, but you know, that's my take from the eye-opener. I like this eye-opener, and it's a good Monday morning eye-opener to kind of remind you that regardless of where you are and what you're doing, is to try to maintain a little bit of that inner child. Let him come out in the workplace or at home, just to remind you that you are allowed to still be silly. But we have to move on into our show for this morning and hear from the National Meteorological Service of Belize to give us that weather update. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Crystal. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, so let's get into the general situation for today. What's the status?
Mainly fair conditions will prevail today, and an increase in moisture is expected later tonight with the approach of a tropical wave.
Okay. And the winds?
The winds will be from the east at 5 to 15 knots.
Okay. And what about the 24-hour forecast?
Okay. We expect some cloudy spells with isolated showers today, and then skies will be cloudy at times tonight with a few showers, periods of rain, and thunderstorms developing over the coast and south later tonight.
Okay, what about our temperatures, the highs and the lows?
All right, the highs for today will be 88 along the coast, 93 inland, and 82 in the hills. And for tonight will be 80 along the coast, 72 inland, and 68 in the hills.
Okay. Can you give us the outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night?
Okay, for Tuesday, a few showers, periods of rain and thunderstorms will affect most places, and activity will gradually decrease, but linger over the south on Tuesday night.
Okay. And can you give us anything of our tropical update?
It's clear right now, so tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours.
Okay. What happened to the tropical storm in El Salvador that was kind of causing us those showers this weekend?
It developed into a hurricane, but it's in the eastern Pacific Ocean.
Okay, so we're not going to get affected?
No. It's already moved out of our area.
Okay. Any warnings or advisories?
For today, no. It's all good today.
All right, all good today. Thank you so much, Crystal, for that update.
You're welcome.
Have a good day.
You too.
All right,
so
there you have it.
There you have it. I mean, it kind of explains what we experienced over the weekend with those incessant rains, right?
Yeah.
And what we can expect today and
Tomorrow.
in a few days ahead as well.
Yeah. It's going to be relatively warm. But we are in that season, here in the summer months of warm weather. So hopefully we are blessed once again without any kind of hurricanes or tropical storms where it causes too much damage on us. But get moving into our Eye on the News for today.
We want to begin our conversation on the Eye on the News segment this morning by reflecting, looking back on an incident that happened in July 2019, July 17th to be exact, right? Where Allison Major lost his life when he was shot by police officers who were pursuing him from the foreshore area of Belize City all the way to the foot of the swing bridge. This matter, when it happened, this incident, should I say, when it happened, created huge public outcry about the manner in which police officers conduct either their operations or how they deal with the public. In this instance, there was a vehicular pursuit. They allege that Mr. Major threw an item out of his vehicle. Turns out to be, they're alleging, a quantity of marijuana. In the vehicular pursuit, shots were fired in the direction of the fleeing vehicle. And in the process, Mr. Major was fatally injured. The vehicle that he was driving came to rest in the area of the swing bridge in front of what is now City Hall, right? Now, while there was, to my understanding, a settlement over this incident, the matter to find whether or not the officers who were involved were actually culpable, that matter is before the Supreme Court. We can't speak to the details of it because it's under what is called a voir dire, where you can't really divulge details of what's taking place in the trial itself. I'm only putting that out there because the matter has not been forgotten. As I mentioned earlier, when it happened, there was a huge outcry. You had the unions who came out full force. You had the wider public, who were railing against what took place. And like I said, the manner in which this thing happened. If you are fleeing from officers who are in active pursuit, many would argue you don't present a clear and present danger, so would lethal force be necessary? That was one of the primary questions that arise out of this whole thing, right? Someone is running away, for instance. There's no need for you to gun him down. Doesn't present a threat to you.
He's not providing any kind of threat with legal weapons or anything of this sort, right?
So that's the first thing that I wanted to touch on, because for the family, they're still seeking closure as to what actually transpired that resulted in the loss of their loved one, right? And so we will be looking at that today when the decision is handed down. We will be speaking with, all the parties involved. Whatever that decision will be from the court, we'll be looking at it to see what the outcome was, right? So that's the first thing I wanted to touch on this morning. The other thing, on Friday, the government of Belize issued a press release with respect of the pending minimum wage increase, right, to $5. And I think that a lot of people were waiting anxiously because I believe it was slated for July 1st, right? And so a lot of people were eagerly awaiting this change, so to speak. Only for us to find out that while this will occur sometime in the future, they have to go through a process, right, where there will be consultations with various stakeholders to see how this can be applied and perhaps whether or not it's feasible and sustainable for the government to move in that direction or what have you. You would recall, however, that this was one of several campaign promises made by the Briceño and the People's United Party administration when they were campaigning leading up to the November 2020 general elections, that minimum wage was one of those things that they would adjust it to the $5 threshold. And so we're going to wait and see what happens, what becomes of this process. We were trying to reach out, I made several attempts on Friday to get a hold of the minister and his CEO to see if they would have been able to explain the direction that they're taking at this point. I was unsuccessful. Doesn't mean that I won't try to follow up with them to see where we are, because it is a live discussion.
It is.
For the simple fact, like I mentioned, people are eagerly awaiting the month of July to see what would have happened with respect of this particular change.
I agreed, and I also think that we haven't sat down as a people, as a country, and discuss how each stage will take effect, right? Because the reality is that if minimum wage increases, right, you're going to start to look at a whole new population of taxpayers. So yes, your minimum wage might increase from $3.50 to $5, but the chances are that you might start to have to pay higher tax, and that's not something that we talk about, right? Because whatever the outcome is, you still have to pay back the government, you still have to pay back the state, you still have to be able to balance that equilibrium of this has to go to road development, this has to go to education, this has to go to health, out of your taxpayers' dollars. So yes, you might see a little bit more dollar in your bank account, but you're still going to have to giving back to the state.
Well, it comes at a time that the discussion has to factor in the fact that we're going through serious inflation.
Exactly.
Right? So with the cost of living skyrocketing, even if you were at that $5 threshold as a minimum wage, when you look at, food, utilities, and all of these other associated expenses,
it'll still go up. So will you really be able to afford to live with the $5 minimum wage? Can we afford to increase $5 minimum wage without increasing everything else?
Well, if there was a silver lining, is the fact that Belizeans are a resilient bunch. So even without the $5, we're still making do at this point, right? And as I've mentioned, it's interesting because you have to look at both things together. The minimum wage situation, the inflation, right? If you go to the store, items that were once reasonably priced several months or a year or so ago, those very same items, be it food items or whatever it is no longer the same cost. It's way more, right? We look at, for instance, the most basic noodles, right? You look at ramen noodles. At a time, it was like 50 cents for one.
Shilling.
Right? So you could go to the store, you could buy 3 for $1.50. Now it's like $1 for one. It's more than 100% in some cases, right? And so it's no longer for some people affordable, right? And so those are the subtle things, right? It's you look at that, you might overlook and say it's just noodles, but for somebody else, you know, that determines dinner for them for that day or however it works, right? But again, looking at it from a point of view where we're saying this is something that's perhaps long overdue, right? This administration, as I mentioned, had it as part of their manifesto and their campaign promise that they will implement this change within this term. I think it's how do I say? It's much needed. It's long overdue.
Yes.
And we acknowledge the initiative as well. That look, this is what we're going to do. So we're just waiting for it now to become a reality.
Yeah.
Right. And perhaps it makes a difference in the financial lives of many of us Belizeans.
Yeah. Right? I do agree. I just want that the conversation stays open when it comes to, yes, you are getting monies in your pocket, but there is a trickle effect to every action that we do, right? I could compare that to when the 10% was taken, or the 20% was taken in some of our paychecks. The reality is that wasn't taken out from your tax either, right? So even though you had a 20% or your 10% being taken, you were still paying the same tax. That doesn't make sense to me, right? And it would have been, even if you give back the 10%, you still might pay, and you might pay more too. So the reality stands for itself in this. If you're going to talk about increasing wage, you have to talk about tax. You have to talk about inflation, and you have to talk about the devaluation of your dollar. So if you do make your connection, right? If you do get a hold of the minister, I want you to talk about all of that. I want you to ask all of the questions, right? You have to. I want to wait for it on the news.
Well,
we're going to wait for it.
We're waiting to see if there will be some response this week. As I mentioned, it came out Friday evening. Perhaps they were closed for business, so that's understandable if that were the case. So we pursue again this week to see if we could get some clarity on the actual direction and perhaps a timetable of when this would actually be implemented.
I think for the most part, one of the things we have to keep in mind is that this administration just came in. I know it feels like they've been here for a while, but they just came in the midst of the pandemic. I know they made several promises on their campaign, but I also take into consideration that they perhaps did not realize the state of the global economy in this state. You can only predict so much. Whatever deadlines they wanted to meet, perhaps they have to extend it, but we still need an update regardless, right? Yeah.
All right, so those are the two items that I wanted to discuss this morning for the Iron News. Naturally, there was a lot more that took place over the course of the weekend.
Yes.
But we'll reserve those for the 6 p.m. newscast. All right. So remember, details of these stories and more you will be able to catch at 6 p.m. Live on 5, or you can catch our content online, Facebook or YouTube. That does it for the Iron News.
All right, and with that, we have to get into our show for this morning. We have two lovely conversations, and I'm very curious to see the second segment. I'm excited for that one. But our first conversation, our first segment will be with Minister of Health and Wellness, Kevin Bernard. He will be here to share with us the latest COVID-19 update. Yes, we are still in a pandemic, so he's going to be here to remind us about that state in our country.
All right, and of course, we are celebrating CARICOM Day as well. So our second segment this morning will be just that, focusing on CARICOM and what it means for Belize and, of course, the region. So that's our second segment.
We didn't talk about it on Eye on the News, but I did want to remind our viewers that yesterday was the 43rd regular meeting for CARICOM in Suriname, where Honorable John Briceño passed his chairship as a chairperson, for acting chairperson, to the Prime Minister of Suriname. So that is something exciting to talk about today. But before we get into our show, we're going to take our first break, and when we get back, COVID-19 update with Mr. Kevin Bernard. Stay tuned.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
After a rough week of school, Jake and his friends decide to treat themselves to frozen coffee. And since they don't have cash on them, they decide to use eCash. With eCash's geolocation feature, Jake can easily find the nearest coffee spot. With eCash's built-in option to split bills, Jake can pay the bill and his friends can reimburse their portion of the bill. Jake scans the merchant's code and confirms payment. Jake then views his transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made, then taps the Split the Bill button where he selects the Evenly option to evenly split the bill. The application splits the bill automatically. His friends receive and accept the request. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash makes Jake enjoy his digital lifestyle.
I am proud to be a Belizean.
I've always enjoyed the different flavors of my country. Every nook and cranny has its own unique taste.
Our history, rich with culture. We've come so far since our independence. Our flag, rivers, mountains, our people, diverse and strong.
Looking back, I am proud and honored. We must continue to preserve and conserve our culture and country for the next generation.
This is our Belize. Respect it, cherish it, love it.
Applying for a Social Security sickness benefit? Here's what you need to know. A complete claims package include 1. Sickness claim form fully completed by the claimant and medical doctor. 2. Salaries record form completed by the employer or HR representative. 3. Proof of bank account such as bank book, online banking, or statement displaying your name and account number. To submit via email, you need to take a clear photo or scan of the documents and email to claims@socialsecurity.org.bz. Be sure to include your full name, social security number, and benefit type in the subject line of the email. Deadline to submit is 14 days from your first day of illness. All forms are available on the website at www.socialsecurity.org.bz. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Galenia Hospital, located in Cancun, Mexico's premier tourism destination, is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that provides highly specialized medical services. We are Quintana Roo's biggest private hospital with board-certified doctors and staff. Some of our services include cath lab, adult intensive Intensive Care Unit, Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, emergency rooms, operating theaters, ambulance services, and more. We are a medically accredited hospital by JCI, Accreditation Canada International, and General Health Council, providing extraordinary care in every specialty, from our cardiology department to our neurology center. We are focused on treating the entire person, body, mind, and spirit. Contact us at medicaltourism@hospitalgalenia.com or visit our website at www.hospitalgalenia.com. Come to Galenia Hospital in Cancun for a truly personal medical care experience.
sustainable development means? Ganze?
Huh?
Anybody?
Teacher. Last night my dad was talking about sustainable development and he said something about people and nature and something else. Oh, and money.
That's good. But did you ask your dad what sustainable development really means?
Yes, teacher, but he said I was too young to know what that is. Is it something bad?
No, Balisha, it's not bad. It's delicious. Well, at least it looks delicious on the TV.
Can I get some? No, Waldo. You're thinking about edible arrangements. That's what you saw, edible arrangements.
Don't laugh, class. Some people get confused with sustainable development. But when we balance the three things Padisha said, we achieve sustainable development.
What do you mean by balance, teacher?
It is when people use only the resources they need from the forest, rivers, and sea and leave some resources to grow back again.
But teacher, why do people cut down the nice trees that give us shade and kill the poor animals?
Because people need wood to build houses, food to cook, and water to drink.
But teacher, we have enough trees to get wood and enough plants and animals to get food. Good enough that we can sell them and make money.
That may be so, Waldo. We need money to live. But if we use up all the resources, then there will be none left for our friends and families to see later. Do you think that's fair?
No, teacher. That's being greedy. My mom always tells me to use what I need now and save for rainy days.
Exactly.
Teacher, if we take care of Belize's precious resources and practice sustainable development, we and our children can enjoy all of Belize. That's what I learned from the Department of the Environment when they came to present at our school.
Oh, that's excellent, Waldo.
After 2 long years, the wait is finally over. On Tuesday, July 5th, your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4 kicks off with the audition show on Channel 5 at 8 p.m. Tune in to see who is hoping to sing their way into your hearts and walk away with the top prize. Then, on Tuesday, July 12th, we go live. And the best seat is at the Bliss. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Life is stressful, and it is easy to lose your patience. When you feel this is about to happen, take a time out. Harsh words are verbal violence and can be very harmful. They are not forgotten. Offering alternatives and communicating with your child is the best way to build real respect. I'm sorry, Brian. That's just a rough day at work. Can you do something quiet?
Do you want a job?
That's more like it.
This is a serious time, violence and crime and a beer gun thing.
going to do while we wait for the minister to join us for our discussion this morning, we will take a look back at a story that we did a few years ago, pre-pandemic. I know that my colleague Paul Lopez went down to Machakilha several weeks ago to do an update, so to speak, where the community, which is a far-flung village in southern Belize, they were being electrified by solar power. Ooh. That was the update that Paul went down there to do, right? And while there were certain flashbacks of the story that I did several years earlier, what I want to do, just to buy some time, is to go back to that story and share that with our viewers, right? And then perhaps we could do a small little chit chat afterwards. Sure. So what we're going to do at this point, we're going to go to that story that we did down in Machakilha a few years ago, just as sort of a flashback. For many of us in urban centers across the country, cost and access to quality education are often taken for granted. With transportation at our disposal and money set aside to cover tuition and other related expenses, the everyday routine of making it to the roll call is an afterthought. For 5 primary school students from the village of Machakilha, the most isolated community in southern Belize, the prospects of higher learning includes the rigors of daily travel to and from this far-flung corner of the Jewel. Today is examination day for Standard 6 students across the country. Their performance in the annual papers, which have seen at least 3 iterations since they were first administered, may determine the high schools that they are eligible to attend in the upcoming academic year. While his peers in Punta Gorda are still sound asleep, 12-year-old Alfonso Putul has been roused from his slumber. It is 3 a.m. and the household is already alive with activity. Waking up extremely early is not so much on account of Alfonso's anxiety. For him and his fellow classmates, this is what they must do to get a head start if they are to arrive on time to sit the PSC.
Well, like this, we have to get up early in the morning and then go bathe, then start trekking that road. And sometimes when it's muddy, we have to go early, and when we reach, we're tired.
If it rains, we will have mud up onto our knees.
We'll be using that one.
The geographic distance between Machakilha and Dolores, its nearest neighbor, is roughly 6 miles. To get there, residents must traverse a demanding terrain accessible only by foot or horseback. On Thursday evening, I ventured to the remote village ahead of the pre-dawn commute to Corazon Creek Technical High School, where the exams will be sat. The journey to Machakilha is difficult. Even by pony trekking, negotiating this environment is grueling.
The condition of the road during the rainy season is the worst part in our life. From Machakilha to Dolores, when it's really muddy, it took us more than 2 hours walking from that place to the next village, and dry season would only take us an hour and a half. And for us to walk in and out of this community is really challenging for us, especially the kids that are attending high school, and for those who would go and sit PSE in Corazon as well.
Traveling with me to get a first-hand experience of the taxing passage is Christina Koch. She is the spokesperson for the Maya Leaders Alliance.
We're here primarily for the purpose of understanding better and getting an in-depth appreciation of the struggle that rural people from the most remote parts of Toledo have to endure to access basic amenities, right? Whether that be healthcare, education, or even just being able to go to the urban center, being able to go to Punta Gorda.
For the purpose of this piece, we are focusing on access to education and the plight of young students who are forced to make the 4-year sacrifice in pursuit of academic achievement. The road to entering and completing secondary school for the children of Machakilha remains unpaved.
This is my 2nd year in high school, struggling and suffering. while going to school, because worse when it's rainy season. It's very difficult for us. It's worse when it's really muddy. We have to come out here early in the morning, and so we kindly ask the government to build us a rock road. And sometimes I feel sorry for young females too, as my age. They couldn't afford to go to school. But me, I need my education, so I need to sacrifice myself doing this.
Back at Alfonso's home, an early breakfast is being prepared. Freshly baked tortillas, chicken sausage, and hot coffee ground locally make up his sustenance for the day. The journey ahead will draw everything from him, including the Spartan nourishment he would have had a few hours earlier.
Every time we are tired when we reach, and it's hard to focus on your work when you're tired, but I know that the Ministry of Education find a place for us to stay in Dolores, but I choose not to go because I want you and the government to see what we always go through. But not only during PSE we need help, because later on I'll be going to high school. If the government still not build our road, then we are going to suffer again.
Just before first light, 3 of the 5 students sitting the second half of the primary school examinations set out on foot from Machakilha. They will meet up with other pupils in Dolores, where they will board a passenger bus to Corazon Creek. The road to the primary school examinations 2019 has taken me deep into the wilderness of the Toledo district, where a class of 5 students has made the trek from Machakilha village to Dolores and on to Corazon to sit their PSC Part 2.
How does the water get? The water right there.
Among them is 15-year-old Jahimer Quib. He lost his father at a very young age and has had to relocate to Machakilha with his older sister and her husband.
I was born in San Vicente village. Well, my dad died, and my brother-in-law adopted me, and I come here to study. Because for my mom, it's difficult because she left alone, and then she went to San Miguel, and I stay here.
Do you feel confident at this point that you will do your best and you will perform to the best of your ability and try to pass the exam?
Yes, I will try my very best. I'll try to do good.
There to help them is Arnaldo Putol. Not only is he the second alcalde in the village, he is also a teacher at the multi-grade school.
The children are interested in education. They are willing to take what needs to be taken by them, especially when they have to leave early in the morning. Children are always excited, are always willing to come out and learn and test out their knowledge out there. So, but the hard part is when we have to walk and these children would get a little cut on the foot, and sometimes they would scream and run if they see snakes and scorpions as well. So these are really the dangers that we face here in Machakilha.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano. Alright, so I look back at that story and I'm still in awe, right? A lot has happened since then. They've gotten a rock road, which allows vehicles to go all the way into the community. Again, we ran a story recently where, we provided an update, but so they've gotten a rock road. They're now able to use solar energy to be able to run proper lighting in their homes. So if you look at these kids, they're no longer studying under candlelight. They actually have proper light, electricity, right? And when you look at it from a commercial aspect, if I could use that as a description, the fact that they also now have electricity allows them to be able to do more with business. They're able to, as you see there, refrigerate food items that are perishable and what have you. I think when I look at this story, April, what I love most about it is the experience.
Yeah.
It's completely different from anything that we're used to here in the city, in the urban setting, right? There's no longer a PSE.
Yes.
So that's another part of it. So this was the road to the PSEs for 2019 and the difficulty that these kids had to endure to take the test. Whereas many of our kids in Belize City were sound asleep, or when other kids in other urban areas and municipalities across the country don't have that degree of difficulty to get to the examination center.
I mean, I was watching the story with you, and I thought about the way that we live in, not just, I'm going to say that urban areas, the towns, the big towns, the big cities, we have a certain level of privilege that we're able to, you go sleep till 7 o'clock if school starts at 8:30. And, for these kids that have to be up at 3, 4 in the morning to make sure that they have breakfast and not go to school, but walk and then catch a bus and then get to school. I mean, now the experiences are better, right, for them. But I always think about other cases that have had to do this, have had to deal with this, and then it kind of makes you wonder why we're not having more of these conversations. When you're in an urban setting, or you live in a city or a town, or you live in a home that has electricity and running water, you don't think about the majority that does not. And the fact that they're able to have now solar power. This is what I want you to think about. 2022, they have solar power. And they're able to have their rock road. It took us till 2022 to do that. And that is where I think yes, the positivity of it all is wonderful, though I will never, ever, ever take that away. But can you imagine if Belize City just made to get electricity at 2022? The level of progress that it has made for us as a urban setting, right, compared to them, that they're just getting that.
You have to be able to appreciate the shared distance of this community, right? Being able to hike that distance from, let's say, the main road all the way into Machakilha. Serious walking.
I asked you that off camera, like, how was it? How were your boots after?
Well, I survived. Again, this is just from a purely journalistic point of view, right? In being able to bring these stories to our viewing public, we have to be prepared to go the distance, no pun intended. Right? You asked me what was perhaps one of the most difficult stories that I've done. And in terms of degree of difficulty getting to the location,
traveling,
hiking long distances, feeling as if though we're never going to reach. I could recall myself and cameraman Rick Romero. We were on a mission to find a drug plane. That was physical difficulty. That's the story. Having to walk, rain, sun, mud, all of that, physical difficulty. But there's a certain feeling, a certain reward that comes along with being able to tell the story, right? And so I think for me that is invaluable, being able to live the experience and being able to relate that to the public.
Well, I'll tell you something, and not to take away from these kids, but I've never had to truck through muddy roads or get from a horse from point A to point B, but I did have to get up very, very early to go to school back when I was younger, and there was no public transportation from point A to Belmopan at that time. So we used to catch orange truck right? In our lead panel, and then there was only one way in, one way out with that truck. And if that truck was going out at 5 o'clock in the morning and you had to get to school for 8, it doesn't matter. You have to be on that truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, or else you're not getting out. And so being 3 and 4 years old, getting to school in Belmopan and having to get up 4 o'clock in the morning, no kid wants that, so that's why I think maybe that's why I was a little bit more, I think it struck somewhere, because that is not the life that you want for your kids. Yes, you have the right to education, right? But that already is taking away rights of happiness, rights of the ability to have that ease access to education. So I'm happy that they got their road. I'm really happy that they got their solar power, because now they're able to get on that path of progress where they're able to have more, right? But I now forget that until 2022. I can't. And then you think about other villages that have that problem. I was just in Indian Church Village a couple of months ago, working on some research, and they also don't have electricity. They also only have one road in and one road out of the village. And it was amazing to me that I'm sitting on top of this rooftop watching just pure pitch black after the sun sets, because nobody has electricity in 2022.
Yeah, but you have to, again, look at the entire picture, right? Some of these locations are literally off the grid, right? And so when you look at bringing infrastructure to these locations, it's a significant investment.
It is.
Road access, potable water, electricity, healthcare, education, and all of these other things. That's a serious investment to develop a community.
I 100% agree, and that's why I always think about when you go day to day in your life, you don't think about that, right? We are very you have that one track mind where you have to get to work, you experience your own difficulties as a person. There's another pothole in the middle of the street. We're government on the board is, right? And then you see stories like this where, they need a road to get from point A to point B in order to catch a bus to go to school. And that brings new perspective to the conversation. But I'm really hopeful that other places, other remote areas get to have those highlights, and we can see for ourselves that we should be a little bit more grateful for the things that we have.
Certainly.
Right?
All right, so what we're going to do now, April, we're going to go to the Look of the Week, which is another feature brought to you by Phoenix Boutique for people who are into fashion and they're looking for, something that defines their image. Then this is for you.
Welcome to the Phoenix Boutique. So today we'll be presenting our look of the week, where we have our stunning model wearing our white wrap Zara collection dress that we've partnered up with some white wrap sandals as well. Everything that we do here with our looks here at the Phoenix Boutique, we like to add statement pieces, and she has on a nude colored mirrored earrings from our Zara collection as well.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
In November 2020, the Ministry of National Defense and Border Security inherited numerous deteriorated buildings and Belize Defense Force compounds countrywide. Improving the living conditions and welfare for our hard-working BDF officers and soldiers became our top priority. Funds were sourced and the work commenced. In June, a new kitchen is inaugurated at Camp Belizario. The existing building was structurally refitted and the kitchen equipped with modern state-of-the-art equipment. The work continues. Delivering on Plan Belize.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
Hola usuario de eCash, la aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Deja mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
After 2 long years, the wait is finally over. On Tuesday, July 5th, your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4 kicks off with the audition show on Channel 5 at 8 p.m. Tune in to see who is hoping to sing their way into your hearts and walk away with the top prize. Then, on Tuesday, July 12th, we go live. And the best seat is at the Bliss. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Albertito Lube. Inita nomada naba santi golira ligaburi asa talida l'escola abro hatia afia da lo ni la mege do time out. Weri hali anigi beli habu serogrigia wena mohaya hagamro duniwa irahia. Baro bada ayano haba hama bisanigu. Demele badugunile bide haba lida leredoroniwa hagamro duniwa irahia.
Minister Kevin Bernard via Zoom with us this morning to give us the latest COVID-19 update. Good morning, Minister Bernard. How are you?
Good morning, April, and good morning. I'm good to be here. I'm sorry about the current situation. I should have been on the show, but definitely it's a privilege to join you, Isani and April.
Thank you for being here.
There's a lot that has transpired over the past few months where COVID-19 and the country's response to the pandemic is concerned. I know that one of the recent developments that came out of last week, for instance, where we're saying Belizeans are now free to travel outside of the country without having to present any proof of vaccination. Let's start there, Minister, because my understanding as well is that this comes into effect before it's actually being taken to cabinet. I believe it's on account of the Prime Minister's travel outside of the country. Let's begin by getting your perspective on that and why this has become necessary.
Well, Isani and April, for quite some time now, let us go back to history. I mean, as you know, when COVID hit Belize back in 2020, there's a lot of measures that were put in place, and the advice I've been getting from my team is that it has now reached a point where we have done a significant amount of effort as a country, as an ministry, to try and get people vaccinated. When you looked at the target population that we had targeted, we were almost at the average of 70%, 68.7 I think it was when we last checked. We started to vaccinate our younger population now between the age of 5 to 11, and while it is not going as what we would want it, that fast pace that we wanted to go, it's still going in the, we still believe that we will be able to reach the overall target that we had set for that age range from 5 and above at 70% by the end of September. Now, a lot of persons have approached the ministries, whether it is for business, whether it is for medical reasons, whether it is for personal reasons, that people needed to travel out. And we also believe that it has come to the time that we now need to remove all other restrictions. And so having to have to write letters every week or every day, making these special requests for business people or for persons who are ill, and seeing that the low uptake of vaccine shows that those who have been vaccinated are those who rarely will be vaccinated. And so we have made the decision internally that we are now allowing persons who are unvaccinated to leave the country. This was a decision not taken just overnight, but it was something that we had thought out for quite a while. And while I know the PM had to leave the country, I myself and Minister Courtney, we both had discussions, and we both agreed, based on the recommendation of the Ministry of Health, of course, had agreed that we do an interim measure in the meantime until I can present the full cabinet paper, which will also speaks of many other issues in terms of the self-test and so forth. In order for us to be able to remove these restrictions. So in the interim, let me just repeat, however, in the interim, we are allowing unvaccinated persons to leave the country. However, they must, when they return, they must provide a negative test, as was the norm coming to the country. Because recall, we have allowed tourists to come into the country whether they are vaccinated or not, but they had to present a negative test. And so Belizeans who needed to leave felt that it was not as well fair to them who needed to leave the country. And so it is that balancing act that we had to also look at. And while we held back on making this change, we now believe that it's time for us to remove that restriction and just increase our surveillance. That is one of the things that the ministry is going to be doing, increasing our surveillance, making sure that we are able to monitor persons coming across still. But at the end of the day, we feel that we must allow people Belizeans who are unvaccinated to leave the country, but upon return they must provide a negative test or be tested at entry point.
Minister, I wanted to get into a little bit of statistics here just for our viewers. When it comes to the ratio of testing versus those who are actually still getting vaccinated. So how are you seeing your numbers of testing versus the number of those that are getting vaccinated? Do you think that we are reaching a more of an increase for vaccination or more of an increase for testing only?
One of the things I mentioned when I was at the World Health Organization, and including the COVID summit that was held virtually a few months ago, we stressed on the issue of testing. You look at the region, testing was minimized, in fact, while other countries were reducing their restrictions. However, in Belize, let me say that in Belize, while we see the number of tests on a daily basis, testing has become is a norm. I mean, people still are going in to be tested. It is not in the numbers that used to be prior to this previous wave. However, we keep seeing a steady flow of persons going in to be tested. So that shows that Belizeans are aware. They are utilizing our facilities to be able to get tested. But the uptake of the vaccination has been very slow. As you notice, the numbers are slowly increasing. You know how far we've been at that overall population rate at 49, hovering over 49.1, 49.2, 49.3 for quite some time, not getting to that 50%. But now that we have the 5 to 11-year-old, I believe that, and the team believe that with the aggressive approach that we're going to be putting in, I mean, now that we have, we're almost out of classes for the younger children. I believe we are fully out of classes now. We are going to set up these mobile sites in our communities to ensure we can get and target most of these younger population as well. Adult vaccination may have dropped, but there's a reason for that. We only have the Johnson & Johnson vaccines in stock. We don't have the Pfizer or AstraZeneca. We are about to receive a donation of these Pfizer and AstraZeneca for the adult population who wants to get their second dose, or for those who want to get their first dose. So you may have seen a drop in that because of the fact that we don't have the adult vaccination, since we had to, the Pfizers that we had come to an expiry date at the end of May. Now, currently on hand, we only have the pediatric vaccines along with the Johnson & Johnson, but we have noticed that there have been minimal efforts or minimal persons that has taken up the decision to utilize the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. For whatever reasons, that's their choice, and most persons had preferred the Pfizer or the AstraZeneca. So we are waiting for that. Hopefully within the next 3 or 4 weeks, we should be getting those vaccines, and we're going to continue to push for those who have not gotten their second shot or their booster. When you look at the numbers, however, in terms of the number of cases, daily cases, we were at a point where we were seeing 200 and something plus cases. I think just recently we had 172 cases. We have seen the number of active cases now fell from 2,000 almost plus to I think 1,000, a little over 1,000 cases. And from the indication that we are getting from the EPI unit, the reports coming to us, we should see the start of the decline of these number of cases, and hopefully by the end of this month or by mid-month, we should start to see our numbers going back pre-Omicron levels.
Quite interesting. Is this of concern to you guys at the ministry though? When you look at this particular wave and the number of infections in the 2,000 range, was this of any concern? I mean, we're not seeing casualties per se, which is a good thing, but still seeing those high numbers, I would want to think, raises some kind of concern for you guys on your end.
It did, of course it did, just as the previous one, Isane and April. However, what gives the ministry and the medical team some relief, as you rightly pointed out, is when you look at the number of hospitalization, the very minimal number of hospitalization that we have been having, and serious matters that pertains, as you know, from the information we have gotten and the tests that we have been conducting, the virus that we are seeing in country is the B1, B2, and that is where we're noticing that there's minimal symptoms. Some people do have nearly all the symptoms, but most of them have been very mild. And the few hospitalization, let me just point out one of the things that I also got to learn, that when it comes to the hospitalization, sometimes people go into the hospital, whether because they feel a bit under the weather, they're not feeling well, and when they are tagged as a hospitalized, it's because either that person went in there because of other ailments. They have diabetes, they may suffer hypertension, and then they are admitted, but then tested, and then proven to be positive for COVID as well. So those are how it has been in the recent days. I understand, however, that there are, just yesterday I got a report from KHMH, there are 2 persons on ventilator. They are monitoring them. So it's been a while that we haven't seen that type of status of person in the ICU. But we are hoping that those persons can, the level of infection can be reduced, and those persons can and then we can go back to the normal hospitalization, and then at some point released. We at the ministry, however, as you rightly pointed out, Isani, we were concerned based on the numbers, but we had instead as well increased our surveillance at every point. We have, I think that over the 2+ years, our nurses and our doctors have really learned to study COVID, and so they were prepared. They were prepared for this one, and so persons, and of course those, like I said, those who have tested, while the numbers are high, very minimal of them had to really go to the hospital or be hospitalized. So the number of hospitalization has been very, 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 very low, and there have been no deaths reported based on those matters.
I want to get back to the conversation about the vaccination, only because I know we're having an update discussion. Talk to us a little bit about this second booster. That is not something we've actually been hearing about for quite some time. So what are the numbers regarding people getting their second booster, and is that available for those that are not frontline workers?
Well, let me again just repeat though that while we had launched just before the vaccines had expired, recall that I mentioned we don't have adult vaccines except for Johnson & Johnson. And so you won't find that persons are getting their second booster at this point in time. It was, of course, open to 65 and above, and then just before, I think mid-May, we said, let's open it up for everybody who needs that, who wants to take that second booster shot. And so it was open, and it has been open since. However, we are waiting and hoping that we can get those vaccines quite early. As I said, the timeline is within 4 weeks. We should be getting AstraZeneca and Pfizer vaccines for adult population. And so we're going to encourage our Belizean people who, one, have not gotten their second dose, or two, who wants to get their booster shot or their second booster shot. What I noticed, however, April and Sonny, and if you I don't have the numbers on me here today, but I think just when I checked last week, the first booster shots were very low. I think we were at about 39,000 Belizeans who had really gone in to take that first booster shot. So there were a very slow uptake of persons going in for that first booster. And likewise, when we get these vaccines, we feel that especially the vulnerable population, those are the ones we want to target. And of course, our frontline workers. I know that there have been a few frontline workers who, at the time before the end of May, had already gone in to get their second booster shots. And so we're encouraging persons, whenever we get those adult vaccines, to go in and get their booster. And for those who are still interested in the Johnson & Johnson, remember that is still available, just that the Johnson & Johnson is a one vaccination. And then you can get a booster thereafter with another preferred, with another type of vaccine. So we are looking at the numbers, April, that in terms of the booster, we won't be able to provide you a good statistics at this point in time because of the fact that we don't really have the other vaccinations on hand.
All right. Well, is there any parting words you want to share with us to end this segment, Minister?
Isani and April, I wish I could have been on the show from earlier this morning so we could expand on most of the other stuff that we're doing at the ministry. Because while we're focusing on COVID, I want to say that I think we have a great team of people at the Ministry of Health and Wellness that has been doing and addressing and working day in and day out. So I want to take my hats off to them. I want to thank them for the support that they have given me, and of course I have also offered my support to my team at every level, and to say that while COVID had taken the front of all of this, we are now focusing as well on our other issues, mental health being one of them, nutrition being one of them, and we have to focus on all the NCDs. We are currently at the same time working with NHI and PAHO, looking at restructuring of the revised health policy for our country, something that will be more better for Belizean people, one that will be able to provide adequate, affordable, and accessible health care for Belizeans. We're looking at the possible rolling out of NHI at a much faster pace. So there's a lot going on at the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Isani and April, but I want to encourage our Belizean people. Let us not take our guards down. COVID is here to stay. We must live with it. It is now a personal responsibility to do what we must to protect ourselves, to protect our families, and to protect our loved ones. So I encourage people to get vaccinated. And if you have to wear a mask, wear your mask. If you have to avoid public gathering, avoid public gathering. Let us ensure that we continue to do the things that allowed us to put a hold on COVID for a long, long time. We cannot take it for granted. And while it has been minimized, it is still around. And we just want to encourage our Belizean people to get vaccinated. And for the younger population, I ask the parents, get your children vaccinated.
Well said. Well said. Thanks a lot, Minister, and take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we take a commercial break at this point, and when we return, as we've mentioned, it's to celebrate CARICOM Day. Stay tuned.
I'm on my way to Belize, where I can get what I need and save some money. After 75 years in the business, nobody do it like Belize. Hello, how may I help you? Anything you need, we got you. Whether it tools or tiles, lights and fans, we are serving with a smile. Genuine plumbing and electric supply, quality construction supply, heating and air condition, 100% Belizean. Belize, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings, quality and savings. Belize, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings, quality and savings. Belize, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings. Quality and savings.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
After 2 long years, the wait is finally over. On Tuesday, July 5th, your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4 kicks off with the audition show on Channel 5 at 8 p.m. Tune in to see who is hoping to sing their way into your hearts and walk away with the top prize. Then, on Tuesday, July 12th, we go live, and the best seat is at the Bliss. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5. KTV.
And in studio with us this morning, we have the CARICOM the outgoing CARICOM Youth Ambassador, Chris Miller. Good morning, good morning. Here to talk to us about CARICOM Day.
Yep.
CARICOM Week.
Yep.
All right.
So today is CARICOM Week, the 4th of July. The region celebrate today as CARICOM Week when we did signing in 1973. My bad. Belize signed a year later because we celebrated in the first week of May. So we signed like 11 months later, 1974, the first weekend of May. But the region celebrate this week as CARICOM Week, CARICOM Day.
All right. So what are the activities or festivities that are happening in and throughout the Caribbean this week? I know right now everyone is in Suriname.
Yeah. So one of the things that CARICOM are doing is they're celebrating this I Am CARICOM campaign. So they're asking member states to have the government offices have the celebrate the colors, CARICOM colors, to wear the CARICOM colors for some of the days, and just to like take pictures, hashtag CARICOM, I Am CARICOM, and just wearing the colors and hashtag and stuff like that.
Speak to us about your ambassadorship, what that has entailed, and of course perhaps some of the experiences that you're taking away as the outgoing CARICOM Youth Ambassador.
Okay, so I was lucky I had an extended term. I guess when COVID came, they just kind of just extended to, that was unsettling waters, but being CARICOM Youth Ambassador, I got open up to a lot of stuff that happens in the region. There was a lot of regional meetings. I think for this group of ambassadors, it was kind of tough, being COVID, lack of finance to do any stuff. But what we mostly focused on was getting the structure kind of fixed. There was been at the secretariat there was an open slot for the person that guides us, so that person came in just for the role, and we were trying to focus on our strategy and our implementation of our methods, because everything was dated like 2013. So there's no instance of mental health or different stuff like that, because remember at that time those wasn't serious issues or big issues in especially in regional, in the Caribbean, that's like a hoax mental health and stuff like that. So it was just trying a lot of policy in fixing those things and including them in our reach now in what we have to do, because we promote what the CARICOM is doing, is CSME, integration, allowing free trade and movement. So we are like the ambassadors in advocating on the youth level, but like I said, back then some of the issues that are more aware or focused now wasn't in it. So it was a lot of just shaping up the policy for allowing a new set of ambassadors to not go through that and can just focus on getting more work and advocacy done.
How do you find Belize in relation to the other island states? Because in my own regional travel, when you go to places like Barbados, you go to Trinidad, you go to Jamaica, for instance, I get a different vibe of them being members of CARICOM from Belize or Guyana, that are mainland countries that you could say one is in South America and the other is in Central America, but we still share a Caribbean identity. How do you find Belize in relation to those other countries?
I would say something that me and my past ambassadors, current ambassadors, always fight about in meetings when they mention island states. And we're like, hey, hold up, not all of us are island states. So we'll always have that little bicker trying to just open everybody's eyes to remember that, hey, we are not all island states. Or even when I see these people do this policy, with, especially when it comes like with the hurricanes and stuff, I like to get back money, they will say island states, and that always urge me a little bit. And as a Belizean, you know, I won't just sit there and stare like, it's not all island states are in the Caribbean. Suriname and Guyana, we fight the same battle all the time.
What do you think in your, well, I guess this is something you discuss in your meetings, but when we talk about that Caribbean identity, and I guess I want to extend a little bit more to Isani's question, what makes us Caribbean identity, what identifies us as Caribbean in CARICOM, when you have countries like Suriname, that is a Dutch colony, well, it was a previous Dutch colony, and other states within CARICOM like Haiti and so forth. So what makes us CARICOM? What gives us that Caribbean identity?
I think is our festive ways, our culture, our lingo, our language. We all speak some form of Creole, in a sense, or like us, or rich in culture. Our cultures are very nearly similar to each other. So I think a lot of that ties into us having that CARICOM, that Caribbean identity.
I was watching the 43rd regular meeting yesterday, and I saw that there was a video campaign kind of showing every single CARICOM nations, I guess the resources and the richness that they have to offer. Talk to us a little bit more about what the youth CARICOM is kind of doing to contribute to campaigns such as these.
Okay, so when we try as our best, Miss Michelle at the Secretariat, to link us in these meetings with everyone. We try to voice our opinions on what we feel is a youth aspect in different things. Like we always tell them that what happened when you guys was a youth back then is kind of different now. Not to dash no shade or anything with them, but it's been a whole different change. I was just telling with my friend days, imagine when we grow up, we never know what our tablet, it never exists, and now young kids growing up know what our tablet as they get out. So things change drastically in just 2 to 3 years or 5 years. So things might change a lot. Not saying that things back then weren't good and we can't use, of course, but it's a mixture of both. I think will make things move forward and better.
For CARICOM week, is there a day-to-day festivity? Is there a calendar of events? How are you all planning the rest of the week?
I don't think there's this year so much a day-to-day event. I think everybody's just still trying to rolling out of COVID, budgets for things like this might not be there. I know next year there will definitely be back big and festive, but I think for now it's just they are focusing on most of the media campaigns, the hashtagging, the little titles, and CARICOM, taking pictures in CARICOM colors and stuff like that.
What are the CARICOM colors for
blue.
Viewers? Just blue?
Blue, the 2 different shades of blue and the little
There, the logo. Okay,
right. Are you doing anything special for CARICOM Day?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing anything. Well, I will have my colors, I will take my pictures, and I'll do my hashtag. I'll probably do an outgoing CARICOM little, not per se speech, but a little message. And I will be starting this month the campaign for the calls for new people to become CARICOM Youth Ambassadors.
Okay, let's end off by asking you this. What advice would you have for young people like yourself who would be interested in pursuing involvement in CARICOM at any stage?
I would like them to break out of that natural Belizean mold. The Caribbean is there for us to go. We have not only in Belize, we don't have to think that our end all is here in Belize. We have the free movement of trade and of ourselves to go in these Caribbean islands and expand our businesses or set up shop and go into these communities and reap benefits just like how other members of Caribbean come here and do the same. So if you have that, there's one thing I can appreciate for COVID is that there's been a lot of uprooting of entrepreneurs. There's a lot of new entrepreneurs that come in. Don't think Belize is it for you. You can go and set up in any of these Caribbean nations just like how they come and set up here as well.
Nice. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris, for stopping by and sharing with us a little bit about Youth CARICOM, and congratulations. And I know that you're going to give a nice message on your way out.
Thank you.
But with that, we'll take our final break and we will be back for wrap up. So stay tuned.
Download the SmartStream app on the Android Play Store and create your account to get access to movies and stream at home or on the go. Prepaid customers can purchase regular data packages or get a discounted rate on a special SmartStream package by dialing 7737. Postpaid customers will be billed monthly. Never miss a movie again with SmartStream.
After 2 long years, the wait is finally over. On Tuesday, July 5th, your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4 kicks off with the audition show on Channel 5 at 8 p.m. Tune in to see who is hoping to sing their way into your hearts and walk away with the top prize. Then, on Tuesday, July 12th, we go live. And the best seat is at the Bliss. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5. KTV.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Welcome to the Phoenix Boutique. Today we'll be presenting our look of the week. Here we have a green satin dress paired with black suede platform heels alongside our Meraki earrings. It's always super important knowing what colors match your skin tone to always make you stand out.
Just like that.
We're at the end of our show for this morning. Quite an interesting show in terms of the direction the conversations took us.
One thing that I have had to learn quite quickly and drastically, if I may say so myself, is that in media, nothing is 100%. You have to be able to take shifts and dynamics, and you have to be able to still execute a show.
It speaks to flexibility.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
I think the conversation, just briefly, recapping the discussion that we had with the Minister of Health and Wellness in terms of where we are as a country and the response to the pandemic situation. So while the government of the day has relaxed considerably many of the regulations that were initially put in place, there is still a great deal of personal responsibility for us to take. Right? So we're no longer required to present proof of vaccination to travel outside of the country. But if you know you're going to be leaving Belize to go anywhere, it's up to you to be able to take care of yourself and remain safe.
I agree 100%. And, I think we spend a lot of time looking at other countries that have also relaxed their restrictions and seeing that they're back to some level of normalcy. But you have to remind yourself every day that they're still in the midst. It's not, we haven't gotten any clear that it's post-pandemic or any sort of update. So even though the restrictions are lifted, still, if you think that you want to be safe or you think you still are in danger, if you have loved ones that have pre-existing conditions, or if you have elderly people around you, do your best to keep safe. You wear your mask, you do your vaccination, and so forth.
All right, so that brings us to the end of our show.
Yes, it does. We're gonna wrap up and so forth. But before we go, we have a birthday shout out, and today's birthday shout out goes to Chelsea Johnston. Happy birthday, Chelsea. We hope you have a wonderful day today. From all of us here at Channel 5, eat some cake. And before I go, right, Friday, like I said, me and John were trying to rack our brains for a birthday shout out, and then I was told that my uncle's birthday was on Friday. So happy birthday to you, Aaron. I am so sorry that I didn't give you that shout out on Friday, but better late than never, right? All right. But if you have, of course, if you want to give a birthday shout out or you have just any questions or concerns, you can always drop us a line at OYE, right here, yes, at channel5belize.com. Or you can hit us up on our socials at Open Your Eyes BZ on Facebook to watch our live stream, or on Instagram at OYE Belize. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. You wake up with us and you started your morning right. From all of us here at Channel 5, we'll see you tomorrow. And remember to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
Bye, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.